What is that door you've been walking past for weeks, months, maybe even years? Is it that door that maybe it has everything you're looking for, your wildest dreams? But for some reason, you just couldn't turn the handle, let alone reach for the knob and think about opening it. I had that door that I walked past. This particular door took me more than 50 years. Now, I've had plenty of doors that I've opened that have led to joy, love, lots of heartache, triumph, tragedy, some really bad things. But I had this particular door that one day, after walking past that door for so many years, I decided, and for whatever reason, I wasn't scared anymore. I felt like, why not? I mean, I opened that door. And what happened, though, it forever changed my life, my family, everything. That single door impacted us in such a way that I can tell you right now that it was just that changed our life, my life, forever. This is the Green Pants Podcast, and I'm your host, Scott Lorette. I'm thrilled to be here. This is episode 2, and I hope you enjoyed episode 1, just kind of kicking off, showing you where I started from. But I also promised you something, and I promised you something, and then I teased something in episode 3, which is pretty exciting too. But what I promised you was the Green Pants origin story. It's one of my top stories that I love to share because I enjoy it. It's fun. It's interesting. It's embarrassing, but here's what happened, because it's a story that took place spanning the East Coast and the West Coast, so the Atlantic and the Pacific. I ended up having to go to a work function in Connecticut. I was one of 3 folks asked to attend a webinar for our entire company, which is, I work for a very large company all over the world. It was on autism. But I got to stay in New York City. I was at the Marriott Marquis. If you've never been there, I highly recommend it. No matter how you feel about New York and the Yankees, go Red Sox. New York's a really fun place to visit. And what happened was I had 3 hours of work to do, and I really got to experience it by going to Connecticut via Grand Central Station and a train. That was so cool. But I got back a little after lunchtime on this particular day. I think it was a Tuesday. And I had Tuesday afternoon, all day Wednesday, and then I was leaving on Thursday. So it was a great trip. So I got to my hotel, kind of changed, headed out, and I was walking. And there I was with, Joe beside me. Good old Joe. Headed down, I think it was 57th Street, or I don't know, the streets and avenues and whatever. But I ended up on 34th, and I knew where I was going, only by the address and the intersection of streets. And I knew I had to go east and then south. Less than a block away, I saw the place. And it was, if there could have been angels singing, because I was so thrilled to be there. There in front of me stood Pasteur's Pharmacy. Pasteur's Pharmacy. I stepped up to the door, this door, almost with reverence, and I opened it. And we stepped inside. There stood Leon. Leon is the owner of Pasteur's Pharmacy. And it's not so much that there's something special about the pharmacy, because that's not why I was there. Why I was there was because of this obscure and some might call odd hobby. Actually, Austin and Logan as well, both my boys are also into this hobby, and that's old school shaving. I hone my own razors. I collect soaps and creams and brushes and lots of razors, dual edge razors, straight edge razors. But there's not a lot of brick and mortar stores around the country that sell these products. Pasteur's is one of them. There's one in Pasadena. There's a really good place in Chicago called Mirrors Apothecary. I love that place. But here sits the Mecca, Pasteur's Pharmacy. There were a few other guys there that, lo and behold, how do you think we all met? On a Facebook page for wet shaving. So I hand Leon one of my books, The Unbreakable Boy, and he says to me, "Are you going to make a movie?" And I said, "No, I want to make a TV show, though. That's what I want to do. I wanted to do that before I even wrote a book with my crazy, messed up, broken family. I thought it would be perfect, kind of a cross between Soul Surfer, Parenthood, and Wonder Years. That's what I envisioned." He's like, "Oh my gosh, you need to do something with my brother-in-law. He does something in Hollywood." I didn't think too much about it, but I did tell him. I said, "Well, I'm going to be in LA in 5 days." And I was. And Leon's a great dude. Now, I should take a time out here because I don't believe in luck. I believe that you make your own luck, but I think that's something different. I think that's called something different. And I know I'll have an entire episode or more on that subject, but that's serendipity. As I've said before, I think luck is where, kind of like wishing upon candles on a birthday cake. Whereas serendipity is something with purpose. So you may not know where you're going, how you're getting there, but you have purpose in what you're doing. Therefore, things happen. Now, I said that I would do this, and I'm going to do it. I pulled down something, and if you're a person of faith, that's fine. If not, that's fine too, because I think you'll still appreciate these words. But this is Proverbs 16:9. "The heart of man plans his way, but the Lord establishes his steps." Serendipity. We move with intention, but God brings the surprising, beautiful outcomes to us. The ultimate serendipity over luck verse. Absolutely. So I opened that door in Manhattan to that pharmacy, only to be 5 days later in Los Angeles. I was going to a film festival called Ottfest, and that isn't at all the cool part of this trip. Not at all. But I get this text message, and I don't know who it's from. I can't really make it out, and it just said, "Hey, this is Pete. My brother-in-law said you want to have lunch, and we can do that, whatever." And I'm on IMDb, kind of looking. I'm like, "Who is this guy?" I have no clue. And I'm texting with Teresa, and we're going back and forth, and she's like, "Okay, start over." Now, backspace, delete the name and type everything in slow. Just go tap, 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 tap. So it'll auto-populate. And I did that. I went slow, and I typed in the name slowly. And as I got to F.A., it popped up the entire name. And I texted back to Teresa, and I said, "OMG, OMG, holy crap, should I wear the green pants?" Because I was referring to the film festival the next night. And I've been debating that with Teresa. So anyway, OMG, OMG, holy crap, should I wear the green pants? And then I texted her. I included this picture. Yes. Some dude in a Calvin Klein underwear ad. But 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes go by. No response. Zip. It's so unlike Teresa because, she gets on me for missing a text message and if I don't respond in like 30 seconds. So I look down at my phone. I grab my phone. I'm like, that's just weird. And I look down. I'm like, oh, I holy crap is rock. I didn't text Teresa. I texted Peter. Peter Facinelli. Dr. Carlisle Cullen from all the Twilight movies. Yeah. Holy crap. Oh, excuse me. I don't swear. I never swear. So you got to give me a pass on the holy crap. But OMG, holy crap. Should have wear the green pants. And I texted Peter Facinelli his own picture in underwear. So I get to LA. Of course, I get to the restaurant, excuse me. It's called Salt Sweet, I think was the name of it. I'll always remember that. It was in this little enclave within Burbank. And I'm walking to the restaurant and I see, and more so hear this guy screaming my name. I turn around, there's this guy in torn up jeans and t-shirt on a cruiser bicycle coming down the street, yelling my name. And he's like, I'll meet you inside. And I go inside and he walks in with me and we order our food and we sit down. And he puts his elbows on the table and he leans into me. He says, all right, so tell me about the green pants. So just word to the wise, when you send a text message, it will never come back. I know that there are some programs like for emails, you can unsend emails and things like that. For text messages, I'm pretty sure once you hit the send button, it's gone. So that's how Peter and I met. Peter and I would go on to be great friends. And over about a year's time, we became friends. And we didn't become movie producing partners until after that, actually, which is a lot of folks don't know that. But as we're sitting there, Peter, with his elbow still on the table, looking straight into my eyes, says, so tell me about your story. And I did what I so often did 10 years ago. I had this little elevator pitch I just had cooked up in my brain that I would always tell people about. And it went something like this. There's this autistic kid that's broken almost every bone in his body. He's had his heart removed, repaired, and replaced. He's got an addict father, a suicidal mother, a near-perfect younger brother. A story of faith. It's dark. It's hilarious. It's inspiring. Take a breath. I've said that so many times. And he looked at me and he just kind of cocked his head and said, what? I said, what? He's like, well, yeah, that's all in there, but that's not the book I read. And that's not the story I took away. I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, dude. And I love that because dude's my favorite word. 60 years old and dude is my favorite word. Truth be told. He's like, dude, that's all in there. But your book and your story is so much more than that. It's going to change the world. It's going to change people. And I just sat there, not as much in stunned disbelief, but just more in curiosity. I'm like, well, okay. He's like, yeah, you've got this beautiful story of this family that's broken, to use my words, and messed up and flawed and dysfunctional. How do you think most families in the world would relate to something like that? And it made me think. And he's like, well, probably most, because you're looking at addiction, parenting, marriage, special needs, suicide. Who doesn't deal with at least one or more of those situations? And he got me thinking, and I'm like, wow, I was kind of stuck there, but it changed everything. Now, there's a lot more to tell the story, and that's why this podcast exists, because this is only a mild piece of the excitement and craziness of my story. In fact, I've said this so many times over the last couple of years, the story of my story is a better story than my story. I say that 5 times. Now, what I did and what I took away from this entire week was this. Sometimes you don't know where you're going, even though you may be pushing forward. As I say, The only way you're going to fail is if you quit. I believe that. Other than my faith, scripture, and other things that I follow, I have a few of these mantras. And one of my mantras is, I know I'll never fail as long as I don't quit. But I think along the way, that twisting, broken path where accomplishing small dreams, big dreams, things like that, they're only, as I said, rest stops on the way to the bigger thing. Finding out who you are, your purpose, your why, things like that. But the lesson I learned from this situation was you don't always know where your inspiration, your life, and things are going to go until you expose yourself, become vulnerable, and share it with someone else. Because I didn't anticipate a famous actor, Peter Facinelli, and his brother-in-law basically allowing me to open the door and sharing with me a perspective that was everything I needed at that time. It was pretty amazing. I love the guy like a brother today, and he's an incredible human being that, this is my little love fest here, but he's so not Hollywood, and I appreciate that about him because he said, and I didn't know this until later on, that Leon had come to him many times with people saying, this is the next best story. And he was not happy with Leon, but Leon had, I guess, FedExed him the book or something like that, and he read it. And that's what it took. He just read the book because he didn't want to meet with me. But then once he read it, he was like, this is a story that is a story about all people. So that is the moral there, but also I think what's as important, though, is one day for me finally getting vulnerable and actually opening that door, taking that chance. Now, by this time, you should be able to watch episode 3, which is The Secret Weapon. You won't want to miss it because I'm fascinated by it. It's not a tool. It's not something you buy. It's not something that someone gives you. But it is absolutely a secret weapon. And if you don't use it, I want to implore you to listen to this episode, take away with it what you will, but I guarantee you that you'll like to do that. Episode 4 is on adversity. I hope that one will be done, but I may come out with 3 and then a 4th one the week after. But this is season 1. This is episode 2 on the Green Pants origin story. You can, wherever it shows you to subscribe and like, please do that because I'm just learning as well. And thank you so much for being part. I really do appreciate it. And let's put on the pants, man, and let's do this. God bless.